What is going on, everyone? Have you ever considered using the Marineland 5-gallon portrait tank for dwarf shrimp, whether it be Neocaridina, Caridina, Amano, ghost shrimp? Well, stick around, I will show you how to perfectly modify this tank so that it's safe and your shrimp can thrive in it. Out of the box, the Marineland 5-gallon portrait tank within its stock form isn't that suitable for shrimp. The main reason for this is because of that filtration system that's in the back. Even though it does a good job in hiding the wires, the heater, and the filtration overall, it can be dangerous for shrimp because of the grates located on that back panel where the shrimp either get stuck on that grate or they get pulled back in there altogether. On top of that, due to the fact that this tank is vertical in nature compared to your, say, 5-gallon horizontal tanks, the floor space in terms of surface area is a lot less. Generally, you want to maximize the amount of surface area in your tank so that it leaves room for algae and bacteria to grow on so that your shrimp can graze on it. Taking these two factors into consideration, the Marineland 5-gallon portrait tank is non-ideal for dwarf shrimp. Let's just get right into the modifications. The first one I did was actually remove that back compartment altogether. For this, you're just gonna need a sharp blade to cut the silicone. If you watched my video prior to this, you saw where I ended up finding this easy blade. I got it from a vinyl wrapping toolkit, and as you can see here, the dividends are continuing to pay off with that kit, so I highly recommend you get it. I will link it down below. Instead of cutting vinyl, I am gonna be using it to cut silicone. It really isn't rocket science. You get your blade and you cut through the silicone. Try to cut as close to the wall of the tank as you can to get as much excess silicone as possible. For those of you who are wondering or are considering getting this tank, here is what the back panel looks like. You can see that the multi-stage compartment doesn't actually reach the bottom of the tank. There is a bit of dead space between that and the bottom. After cutting the silicone on the sides as well as on the bottom, pulled out the panel. I did go through a second wave with the blade to cut off any excess residue of the silicone. No worries on trying to take off all the residue completely. We will go in with a different blade that makes it a lot easier. After removing that back panel, the next order of business was removing these two black side strips that you could see here on each side of the tank. Fun fact, before I made this video, I myself didn't even know that back portion was covered through black vinyl. I thought it was black paint, but I'm really glad they went the vinyl route with this because it is easily removable as we go through these next steps. So what you do is you get a metal ruler or any metal edge for that matter. Just make sure it's not plastic or wood because you will be running your blade against it. Place it alongside the edge that you want to cut, and you could leave around a 1 to 2 millimeter gap so that your blade can lie on it, and just run your blade along your metal ruler so that you could pre-cut the portions of the vinyls that you want to take off. A little pro tip here to make sure that you do get that clean cutaway, run your blade through the vinyl at least twice while you're doing the pre-cut. After that, you want to take a heat gun or hair dryer would suffice in this case as well, and heat up the adhesive behind that vinyl. I think this is really important because you don't want to leave any residue on that tank. It's just less work for you at the end of the day. Once you heat up that entire strip, just pick any corner and start peeling away. As you can see here, you get a satisfying clean peel away if you do it correctly. Repeat these steps for the opposite side of the tank and you should be good. Now we're gonna go in and make sure that all that residue is taken care of with a different blade. The leftover residue becomes a lot more apparent from that back panel. So this time we are gonna go in and remove all the residue that we can and make sure that it looks clean, cut, and perfect. As you can see here, I use a standalone blade that often barbers use whenever their clients ask them for a nice little lineup, or if they're shaving their clients. You guys probably don't even care about that. Those blades are really cheap and I'll link them down below. And of course, try to say this in every single video, no pressure when it comes to using my links, but if you want to use them, they do in fact support the channel and it is greatly appreciated. Anyway, the benefit of using this blade compared to the easy blade that I used to cut the silicone is that you could go in at a better angle perpendicular to the residue and get it off more easily. Don't worry about cutting into your glass or making any marks. As long as you're running the blade perpendicular to the panel, you should be pretty good. After the satisfying removal of that residue is complete, just go in quickly with a towel and wipe off anything that's left in there. Now that all those steps are done, we could go into actually setting up the tank. First thing I did was add gravel substrate from an old tank that I had. I ended up capping this gravel with black sand, but the whole purpose of the gravel was to promote some aeration and create some elevation. Now to the aquascaping portion of this, if you could really call it that. Remember when I said that this tank didn't really have the ideal amount of surface area needed for shrimp? Well, here is my solution for that. What plant has more surface area than moss? Unless you clicked this video so fast that you didn't even look at the thumbnail because you are a true fan, thank you. Then you already know where I'm going with this aquascape. I found a perfect piece of driftwood at the pet store that looked exactly like a bonsai tree. I attached the Christmas moss to the driftwood using super glue. As long as the glue is 100% cyanoacrylate, it is completely aquarium safe for your fish tank once it is dry. And for those of you who are wondering, you could use any type of moss. I ended up using Christmas moss because I like how it grows laterally compared to just all over the place like Java moss. If you do end up going the same route as I do, make sure you have a spray bottle of water at hand so that you could continuously spray your work area because the moss can dry up relatively quickly. With that back compartment removed, you may be asking, what about filtration area? Don't worry, I got you. Boom, sponge filter, baby. I think sponge filters are the best route to take with shrimp because not only does it accomplish some of that biological filtration that you need, but it provides a lot of surface area for your shrimp to graze on. And as a bonus, it doesn't have a power head that can suck up a shrimp and kill it. The specific sponge filter I use here comes from a company called Higer. As you can see here, I put my sponge filter within the ceramic media of one of my established hang-on back filters. It stayed in there for about a month or so and is definitely a good hack for anyone who's looking to quickly seed their sponge filters with beneficial bacteria. I chose this specific sponge filter for a number of reasons, but again, you could pick whatever sponge filter you want. Some of the reasons include it gives you the option for sort of a pseudo surface skimmer. Second is that it comes in fully black, so it'll blend in with the background very easily. And third, you could suction cup it to the back wall. So now comes the air pump. If you're like me, having a bulky air pump for a nano tank kind of defeats the purpose. So what I did was use a USB air pump. As you can see, to make sure that the whole tank was nice and neatly packaged as one unit, I got a command hook, attached it to the back of the tank, and hung the air pump from there. Setting up this way, the tank becomes its own little self-sufficient unit. Next up was modifying the lid. As I do with all the lids for this tank, I put a command hook on the top so that it's easily accessible. Again, with the back compartment of the tank removed, that leaves a portion of the tank not covered by the lid. So what I did here was use the extra piece of plastic I had laying around for my Aqueon lid. I ended up cutting the plastic in half to make room for not only the light, but also the airline tubing, and I attached it to that back portion of the lid. I did also end up switching the light for this setup because Aquarium Moss definitely needs higher light than what the stock light provides. I used the Torch Star LED. Here is a video more in depth on that. I really do like this light because it's powerful, it comes in a pack of 2, so it's very cost efficient, and there's an on and off switch on the cable. The one downside I do have with this light is that it can get a bit hot, so be cognizant of that. The last thing I added was this tube and feeding dish set, which I'll also link down below. I've used it in the past and I think it's great. It prevents your sinking shrimp foods from dirtying the substrate, and it forces your shrimp to come to the front so that you can wash them. A heater in this case would be optional, but it definitely isn't necessary, so if you think your room is kept at a comfortable 72 degrees, I wouldn't even bother. With that being said, I will save adding the shrimp into this tank for a different video to kind of leave you guys on a cliffhanger, and I know many of you are waiting for me to add my BETTA to my other Marineland portrait gallon tank. That is coming. The supplier that I'm trying to get my BETTA has been a little fussy, but I can't blame them. The East Coast weather has been a little crazy, but that video will be coming soon as well. There you guys have it. That is how to set up the Marineland 5-gallon portrait tank for your dwarf shrimp. Of course, this isn't a complete care guide for your specific shrimp, whether it's Caridina, Neocaridina, or any of the other ones, because it definitely varies from shrimp to shrimp. But if this video brought any value to you, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram at Pharmaquatics. Check out my blog, pharmaquatics.com, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace. I'm so tired. Oh. Hope you guys like the new angle, by the way. It's kind of cool, right? Different angle. You don't even see my tanks that much. Yeah, I think it's better off that way because my tanks look pretty bad right now. Anyway, see you guys.